How can we even talk about chronic happiness if we don't have a common understanding of this powerful concept? Let's try a little test, shall we? Let me run these questions by you as I give this talk. Ponder this for yourselves. Let's see where we're all at. Is pleasure happiness? Is happiness pleasure? People are nodding, yes. Is joy happiness? Is happiness joy? Is prosperity happiness? What about excitement or peace or zeal or laughter or fun? Are those happy? Are those types of happiness? Does it change based on your genes or your upbringing or your locale or your happiness set point? And we all have one of those. And the good news is we can all impact it. We can all change that. If you're in the middle of turmoil or intense grief or even despair, does that mean you cannot maintain happiness? What do you think? If you ask most people what it is they want most out of life, and in fact, we just saw the movie Called Happy at Rhode Island Center for Metaphysics down at East Greenwich. We're on the spiritual director. They opened the movie after I wrote this and it proved my case. What do you want out of life? What is the thing you want out of life most? To be happy. The American dream. The pursuit of happiness. But what does that mean? What does that mean? For the purposes of this talk, I offer the following definition of the type of happiness I am referring to here today and the power yielded by achieving that. The definition is as follows. An overriding sense of well-being regardless of the circumstances in your life. An overriding sense of well-being regardless of the... How many would have defined happiness different than that? One person listening. What do I have to do? To wake you up?
I'm making fun of this show.
That was my idea, the soft shoe, by the way. That was pretty bad. You okay? Okay. Nothing wrong with that. Nothing wrong at all. Earlier in the year, I laid out some goals for myself. That's not unusual since coming into the New Thought movement. For the past 10 or 15 years, it's something I do. But what was unusual, one of the things I jotted down was this term chronic happiness. And it's not something I'd ever remembered hearing before. What is chronic happiness? But I put it down, and I always put down a date, you know, when I would like to achieve this. It's a helpful exercise that I've done for a number of years. I decided to take the lead from Mother Teresa, who when asked, Mother Teresa, will you come to march against war? She said, no, I won't. But when you have a march for peace, call me, and I'll be there. I wanted to stop fighting the chronic pain. And those of you who know me know that I suffered with quite the bout of depression this year in the most unlikely of circumstances. Many of you have prayed for me, and I thank you for that. So instead of fighting that, I wanted to embrace chronic happiness. Why put my energies on fighting this thing? I wanted to be on this side of it. This talk will show us some of the tangible things we can each do to create a life of chronic happiness regardless of the circumstances you are in, or you will be in. Because we all go through those bumps and dark nights of the soul. Really, that doesn't matter. Really, that doesn't matter. The first principle to achieve chronic happiness is, it's a choice, man. It's a choice. Abraham Lincoln is quoted as saying, most folks are as happy as they make up their minds to be. We have the power each day to choose what to focus on and how to interpret our reality. We know what we focus on is what we tend to see more of and get more of. And this happens even in the face of challenging feelings and circumstances. I think of how those in the World War II concentration camps, how were they able to get through? And we know some famous ones like Viktor Frankl, who wrote Man's Search for Meaning. What must they have been focusing on during those deplorable times? Same for the slaves in our country. We hear, you might have caught the Ancestry.com commercial where they said, you know, my great-great-grandfather started out a slave. He was born into slavery. And by the time slavery was abolished, he was a businessman, right? How does that happen? How does that happen when you're so oppressed and the only thing you know is to be held captive? How do we make such a radical transition? I need to emphasize that in my experience, this choice of happiness takes persistence and it takes muscle, mind muscle, like everything else we're taught in Unity. It's here. It takes compassion for ourselves. It takes practice. It takes picking ourselves up and trying again and again and again until the habit and the focus is where it belongs, on what is good, what is useful, and what is positive. We can train ourselves to chronically look for the good, to chronically and persistently look for the good in others and other situations. The choice is ours. We can challenge ourselves and we can come out on the other end of this and have that life of chronic happiness. So the first principle to achieving chronic happiness and maintaining it is it's a choice. It is a choice we make day by day, incident by incident, minute by minute.